Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi ala ni'matul Islami wa kafa biha ni'ma. All praise and gratitude be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on His blessing of Islam, which suffices as a blessing. So, welcome back. Yesterday we had completed up to ayat number 201 of Surah Al Baqarah, where we were taught a balanced prayer of asking Allah for the good of this world, and with that also the good of next world. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina azaban nar. Today we will see the response of this prayer. And this begins. This is the second para that we are going to be beginning in. And today, inshallah, we will cover ayat number 202 to ayat number 252. So the response of this comes from Allah. Our prayer. Ulaika lahum nasibum mimma kasabu wallahu sariul hisab. And such shall have a reckoning of what they have earned, and Allah is swift at reckoning. So what Allah is really telling us over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that after prayers, after you make a dua, don't be complacent. Don't be self-satisfied and become lethargic. Instead work, instead strive. And that's the mizaj of Islam. Nowhere in Islam you would find that just prayers are sufficient. With prayers you need to put in your effort, and those are needed for the results. Now, next time we're going to go back to Hajj, because if you recall, last time we were talking about Hajj and all the ahkam relating to that. Couple of ayahs for that, and then we'll move on to new subject. So, ayat number 203, and remember during the numbered days, then whoever hurries away in 2 days, there is no sin on him, and if anyone delays, there is no blame on him. Hence, remain conscious of Allah and know that to Him you shall be gathered. So, this is talking about the 3 days of Zilhajj, which is the 11th to the 13th, which are also called the Yom Tashriq, which are the days when people stay in Mina. People can stay there for 2 days, and that's fine. And if they extend it for 3 days, then that's also fine. Next ayat, and among the people is he who talks about worldly life, impresses you, and he holds Allah witness to what is in his heart, though he is exceedingly argumentative. So Quran warns us about these sweet talkers, and also highlights the power of speech, the power of words, because if they are misused, they can make a non-issue an issue, and just to confuse and just to puzzle people. What Quran's message is, just rhetoric and mixing truth and with untruth, is not really desirable. This is not the thing. You need to think what people are saying and what their action and deeds are. Sometimes you hear these talks, these talks about the new world order where peace and protection and security will be there. But in reality, when we see, things are very different. So don't be impressed with word. Don't be such a simpleton. Look at the reality. Look at the reality of truth. Just don't go for words and appearance. And when he turns back, he strives in the air to spread corruption and destroys the crop and progeny, and Allah does not love corruption. No religion in this world encourages destruction. No religion in this world wants that corruption should be spread or destruction of crops and progeny. So in every religion there are munafiqs. Like they are in Islam, they are there in every religion. People say all the right things, but in reality, it is their self-interest that they are promoting. They misuse resources, they abuse resources, they destroy the ecosystem, they cause social pollution, they destroy institutions of marriage, family units are broken down. List is endless, and these are just words. When you hear the words, you would think that these people are great reformers. But in real action, when they when they turn back, they will spread corruption in the earth and destroy the crop and progeny. And when it is said to them, fear Allah's punishment, his pride drives him into sin. Therefore, hell is sufficient for him, and it's an evil resting place. And among the people is he who sells himself for seeking the pleasure of Allah, and Allah is most kind to his servants. So selling your possessions and freedom, and in return you get what? You get paradise. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu udkhulu fis silmi kaffa wala tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan innahu lakum aduwwum mubin. O you who believe, enter into Islam in totality, and do not follow the footsteps of the shaitan, for indeed he is your open enemy. So when we talk of submission in Islam, it is about totality. It's about perfectly submitting. meaning that you shouldn't really discard any part of this deen, any part of this sharia. Totality in what? Totality in our thinking, totality in our action, in our loyalty, in every aspect, 24/7, because loyalties cannot be divided. Either we are loyal to Allah or we are not loyal to Allah. He is the master of Darul Islam, the abode of peace. His name is As-Salam. He invites people to his house where half or partial obedience is really not acceptable. So, whatever portion of our life that's outside Islam is outside this protection. But if you fall back after clear proof has come to you, then know that Allah is mighty and wise. What clear proof has come to us? What bayana has come to us? History. Look at history. History is such a great witness, such a great proof. Think about the powerful empires that have been in the past. Think about the Romans. Think about the power of Genghis Khan. Think about the Greeks, the Byzantine. They all lie in ruin today. And look at witness the transformation of people that has taken place. Witness the transformation Islam brought upon the Arabs. Witness how Islam survived in the past 1442 years against all odds. And witness how the words of Quran have been preserved. These are signs. These are signs that there is someone who is protecting. Do they then wait that Allah should come down to them in shades of clouds and angels, and the matter be decided once and for all? And to Allah all matters are returned. Quran questions this lack of urgency in people. What is this delay? Why are you delaying accepting true faith? Why are you delaying surrendering to Allah? What are people really waiting for? Which miracle people are waiting for? Can't they see the universe around them? Can't they see all the creativity of Allah that is spread inside themselves and in this universe? Now it is time for people to take steps to improve their akhlaq, to become better people. Ask the children of Israel how many manifest signs we had given to them, and whoever changes the blessing of Allah after it has come to you, indeed Allah is severe in retribution. What was the greatest blessing that came to Bani Israel? The greatest blessing that was given to Bani Israel was guidance. But they didn't treasure it and they exchanged it for worldly gains. زُيِّنَ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا وَيَسْخَرُونَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَاللَّهُ يَرْزُقُ مَن يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. And the life of this world has been made alluring for those who disbelieve. And they mock those who believe, and those who fear Allah will be above them on the day of judgment. And Allah will give sustenance to whom He wills without measure. For the disbelievers, this is a really an attractive life. It's a very captivating life, especially if you are young and especially if you are rich. And such young and rich people would mock those who give away these gratifications that this life has to offer. And for what? For seeking the pleasure of Allah. But this will be more than compensated in the next life when Allah will give them a position of dominance. Also, this ayat talks about that Allah gives sustenance to whom He wills without measure. Worldly benefit, worldly sustenance, Allah grants to everyone, to the righteous and to the sinner according to His wisdom. And this is a test. Sometimes Allah tests people by giving them, and sometimes Allah tests people by taking away from them. Mankind was a single community, so Allah sent messengers as a bearer of good news and warners. And He revealed to them the book with truth, that it might judge between people in matters where they differed. And people who were given did not differ about it after clear proof had come to them, except out of mutual jealousy. And Allah guides by His will the believers to the truth about which they disagreed, and Allah guides whom He wills to the straight path. All prophets from Hazrat Adam alayhi salam to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all prophets brought the same message. That is why mankind is a single community. Then people, due to jealousy, they created differences among them. They wanted to rule them. They wanted to guide, to control them. But Allah guides the believers. Allah guides the true believers. There's a theory by Adler. Adler was one of the known philosopher. He said there is an urge to dominate. Human beings have an urge to dominate, and people have used religion. Man has used religion as a tool to dominate. Next ayat, do you think that you will enter into paradise while the state has not yet come to you? Like on those who have passed away before you, they encountered suffering and pain and were so shaken that even the messenger and those who believed with them cried out, when will Allah's help come? Surely Allah's help is near. So Quran is telling us, don't get flustered with these little difficulties. Munafiq is one who leaves the deen when little difficulty come on him. Please remember, no difficulty will last forever. This too shall end. And when we have passed through a difficult period successfully protecting our faith, then this is the real achievement. This is a great achievement. Also remember that Jannat is not free. There is a price tag for Jannat. Nothing is free. A farmer who wants to harvest a crop, he has to sow the seeds. He has to plow the land. He has to water the plant. And if people think, or if the farmer thinks that he can harvest without doing all this, then that is not possible. And same is true for paradise. Having said that, again, Quran says that to be religious really doesn't mean that it is you are condemned to a life of gloom and drudgery. To the contrary to this, perhaps it's one of the most peaceful life. And they ask you concerning what they should spend. Say, whatever wealth you spend, let it be for parents and relatives and orphans and needy and the travelers. And whatever good that you do, Allah will indeed know about it. So Quran is actually teaching us here etiquettes of not the etiquettes of taking, but again and again it teaches us the etiquettes of giving. An emphasis here is to give anything good, anything that Allah has given to you, anything that's useful, anything that's valuable, anything that's helpful, kind words, good advice, money, help, any of these things. Share it with people, and but do it for the sake of Allah. Also, please remember that from Islamic point of view, from a Quranic point of view, wealth and money are by their nature not bad. They're called a khair. They become a fitna or a trial in how we spend it. If we spend it for a good cause, then they are a khair. If we spend it on wrong things, then they become a great trial and a fitna for us. Fighting is ordained on you, even though it is repulsive to you. And it may be that you dislike something while it is good for you, and it may well be that you love something which is harmful for you, and Allah knows whereas you do not know. Look, this is human nature. War and death are horrifying. No one likes them. No one wants to die. Who wants to be a dead hero? No one. But this loss of faith is of worse magnitude. Remember, freedom has a price, but the benefits of freedom are far outweigh the cost for this freedom. Now, to be able to practice your own faith without any pressure is such a great blessing that if war has to be undertaken for it, this is a desirable option. They ask you about fighting in the sacred month. Say fighting in it is awesome, means often awesomely offensive, and hindering people from the path of Allah and denying Him and stopping people from the sacred mosque and expelling its inhabitants are more offensive with Allah. And persecution is worse than slaughter. Fitna is worse than slaughter. And they will not cease from fighting with you until or till you return back to your deen. And if they can. And if any one of you turns back from your deen and dies as a disbeliever, their deeds will bear no fruits in this world and in the hereafter, and they are the people of fire, and in it they shall remain forever. Surely those who believe and those who migrate and struggle in the way of Allah, these are the one who may look forward to Allah's mercy, and Allah is forgiving and merciful. So the word jihad and hijrat being used over here in this ayat, which is that there was once a companion asked our Prophet ﷺ, our Prophet, what is the best hijrat? And our Prophet ﷺ responded that you fight your nafs to submit it to the will of Allah, that you become truly submissive to the will of Allah. And then he was asked this question, which is the best hijrat? And our Prophet ﷺ said, you leave everything that Allah dislikes. So this is our hijrat. This is the hijrat that's
वही है जो इतना मुआफ़ करने वाला, इतना रहम करने वाला है.
rahmat of Allah. We must first be eligible for it.
और जब तुमने कहा था ए मूसा, हम उस वक़्त तक
قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. And they ask you concerning wine and gambling. Say, in both of them there is a great sin and some benefit for men, but their sin is greater than their benefit. And they ask you as to what they should spend. Say what is beyond your needs. In this way, Allah makes clear to you His signs so that you may reflect. Now, these ahkam over here for wine and gambling, the prohibition that came over here. This is a kind of a progressive nature of prohibition for wine. Here we see in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayat 219, the first hukum coming. We will also read about this in Surah An-Nisa when we reach there. And finally in Surah Ma'idah, where the word fajtanibu, stay away from it, shun it. It's a very strong word that's being used by Quran for staying away from anything that causes intoxication. Now, how strong this word is, the same word fajtanibuhu is also used instructing Muslims to stay away from shirk. So you can really sometimes understand how important it is to stay away from alcohol. It's as important as staying away from shirk. And this is important to understand because sometimes people argue and they say, well, the word haram is not used for wine in Quran. But haram is not even mentioned for shirk. Although shirk is an unforgivable sin, but the word that is used, fajtanibu, which is stay away from it, completely shun it, for shirk as well as for alcohol. Now here, obviously, there is, as we read this ayat, Quran say that in both of them there is a great sin, but some benefit for mankind. Now this is what benefit Quran is referring to. Sometimes people misread this ayat and they begin to write and say, well, there are some alcohol, the alcohol has some medical benefits to it. This is neither true nor is it the intention of Quran. The background to this particular ayat is that during the days of Jahiliyyah, it was considered to be really a righteous act, especially during winters and during famine, to drink heavily and then to gamble on meat. And then when you would win the meat, the winning was given to poor people. And this was considered to be a very noble act. And those people who didn't really take part in it, they were considered to be real misers in the society. So the benefit of people drinking was that poor will get free food. Now, having said that, there are many benefits for some deeds. There are for every deed, for every wrong deed, there is some benefit. But the loss is more than the benefit. Every evil act that you can think about, even a fraud, even a bribe, someone benefits. Even from stealing, someone benefits. But the loss is much greater, hence it is disallowed. In the world and the hereafter, they ask you concerning orphans. Say, to set right for them that which is for their good. And if you share with them, they are your brothers. And Allah knows those who are corrupt from those who are correct. And if Allah wished, He could put you in difficulty. Surely Allah is mighty and wise. The next ahkam is about marriage, and do not marry mushrik women until they believe. And a slave woman is better than a mushrik, even though she may please you. And do not marry women to mushrik men until they believe. And a slave who believes is better than a mushrik, even though he pleases you. These people tempt you towards fire, while Allah invites you to Jannah and to His forgiveness. And He makes clear His message to people so that they may take advice. Islam and un-Islam cannot coexist together. Islam is a deen which strives for complete supremacy. Its single aim of Islam is success in the hereafter. Hence, there is a prohibition for Muslim men and Muslim women. They cannot marry mushrik men and mushrik women. They ask you concerning women's course. Say, in it is an uncomfortable condition, so keep away from women in this condition and do not approach them till they are clean. And when they have cleansed themselves, then go to them from where Allah has ordained. Surely Allah loves those who constantly turn towards Him and love those who purify themselves. Now, this is not a kind of a superficial question. There are lots of matters that are really related to this, this concern being raised over here. Matters like divorce, matters like parenthood of an unborn child, inheritance, fasting, salat, all these matters are related to this issue of this women issue. But what Quran prohibits over here is associating with them at this time, and that is strictly prohibited. It's not just in Islam, but it is prohibited in all religions, even religions which are not revealed, like Hinduism, like Sikhism, all these religions, like Taoism, Maoism, in all these religions, of course in Islam, in Christianity and Judaism. But however, Islamic view is a little balanced as compared to some other religion where women do not become untouchable during this particular time. Your women are your tillage for you. So come to your tillage from wherever you lie and send ahead for your soul and be conscious of Allah and know that you will encounter Him and give good news to the faithful. So wives over here, women that is used over here is as a relationship of a wife. Now wife is compared to land. This is because, and this is for wife, this is not for women, this is for a husband and a wife that this ayat is there. Meaning that as a wife, a woman is protected. See, she is not just there just for entertainment. She is not the moon and the star just to enjoy the beauty for some time. Land is different. One needs to take care of the land. The more one takes care of the land, the more benefit you get from land. So your wife is not like a flower in the garden which can be appreciated and discarded when the needs are fulfilled. Who respects a flower? Who respects a butterfly? It's very interesting that when you call a woman a moon or a star, she feels happy, but when you call her a land, she sometimes feels offended. But remember, sun and moon are free for everyone to enjoy. Land is not. And do not make Allah's name an excuse in your oath, except to your being righteous and be conscious of Allah and promotion of peace between people. And Allah is all hearing and all knowing. And Allah shall not take you to task for what thoughtlessness is there in your oaths, but He shall take you to task for what your hearts have incurred, and Allah is all forgiving and all forbearing. Qasam khana, to take swear in the name of Allah. So there is a hadith in which our Prophet ﷺ said, if anyone takes a solemn oath and realizes that something else would be more righteous, let him then do which is more righteous and break the oath and then atone it. And what is the atonement? Atonement is feeding 10 poor or clothing them or liberating a slave or fasting for 10 days. Those men who take an oath for abstinence from their wives should wait for 4 months. So if they take them back, surely Allah is forgiving and merciful. But if they resolve on divorce, Allah is indeed all hearing and all knowing. This is referring to an oath which is called the oath of Ela. It used to be a custom that men sometime or husbands in a state of anger, they would take an oath and say we will not approach our wives or not approach our wife. Now this resulted in great unfairness. The unfairness was that the wife is neither now married nor she can remarry because there's an oath being taken by the husband. So here, Quran stipulates a period of 4 months, and this applies to those people who have taken an oath for separation. Without taking an oath separation could be for any length of time. And divorced women should keep themselves in waiting for 3 courses, and it is not lawful for them that they should conceal what Allah has created in their wombs, if they believe in Allah and the last day. And their husbands have a better right to take them back if they desire reconciliation. And women have a right in relation to their responsibilities according to what is equitable. But men are a degree above them, and Allah is mighty and wise. Men have responsibilities. Also have certain authority in case, when you look at a family unit of a husband and a wife, they are the providers of the family. They are responsible for the provisions. They are responsible for protection. They need to take care of the family. They need to take care of the wife and children. Now, if the distribution of rights and responsibilities at home are balanced, the whole society is balanced. But Quran also uses the word towards the end and says, but men are a degree above them. This is only as a husband, not as men in general, that they may be above women. Certainly not the intention. As a husband, a man is above. But men are as a husband, but also know that while they are above in a household, but they also should know that Allah is above them, because Allah uses the word, and Allah is mighty and wise. He is above the men. Now, the temperament of Islam is that it wants to maintain the married state as much as possible. But indefinite strained relationship is harmful for the entire family, for the husband, for the wife, for children, for both the families. Hence, divorce is permitted, and as we see in the next ayat, which is ayat number 229. Divorce may be pronounced twice, then keep them properly or let them go with kindness. It is not lawful for you to take any gift or anything except in case they fear that they cannot keep the limits imposed by Allah. But if you fear that you cannot keep the limits imposed by Allah, then if she gives something something for her freedom, there is no blame on them. And these are the limits of Allah, so do not exceed them. And whoever exceeds the limit of Allah, then the limits of Allah, those are the unjust. So here Quran actually is referring to divorce in case of mutual incompatibility, and that is permitted, that is allowed. But to prevent permanent damage due to his decision, sometime in anger, sometime in irritation, pronouncing divorce once is enough. So here Quran says divorce may be pronounced twice, which means there are two, and the strike three is the last strike. But pronouncing divorce is enough to begin the process, and then there is a whole period of iddat for that. Now, if divorce is pronounced for the third time, it becomes irrevocable. Now, also Quran says over here is that if she gives something for her freedom, there is no blame on them, which means Quran gives women the right to seek khula, which means that she can annul the marriage, she can break the marriage, in which case she has to only return the meher or the gifts that have been given to her. So if you divorce, she shall not be lawful to him until she marries another husband. Then if he divorces her, in that case there is no blame on them if they reunite, provided that they keep the limits of Allah, and these are the limits of Allah which He has made clear for people who have knowledge. So remarriage, after pronouncing three divorces, remarriage is only possible by a way which is what you called a hila. This is, like I said, a woman who has been divorced thrice. She has to marry another man who also divorces her on a free choice and free will, and then she can remarry the first husband. Now, it is important to note that the divorce from the second husband must happen on its own, and it is not a precondition to marriage. Please remember that the intention in any nikah is to establish a family and not for the purpose of hila. And when you divorce women and they have reached the prescribed time, either take them back on equitable term or release them with generosity, but do not take them back to hurt them or take undue advantage. And whoever does this, he indeed is unjust to his soul. Do not make mockery of Allah's commandment. The only place where Muslims are addressed, do not make mockery of Islamic injunctions, is in the case of divorce over here. The only place. Don't make a mockery of Allah's commandment. So do not make mockery of Allah's commandments, and remember the favor of Allah upon you, that He has sent down upon you the book and wisdom for your instructions, and remain conscious of Allah and know that Allah has full knowledge of everything. Look, every law has a loophole. It's only taqwa that prevents people from seeking those loopholes. And when you have divorced women and they have reached their term, then do not prevent them from marrying their husbands when they agree among themselves on equal terms. This instruction is for those who believe in Allah and the last day. This is more virtuous and purer for you, and Allah knows while you do not know. Now, a very long ayat, which is ayat 233, and this is about the welfare, how the welfare of a child in case of a divorce, that is important. So, a great long ayat on that. And the mother should feed their children for 2 whole years, for those who wish to complete the time of feeding. Their food and clothing in an equitable manner, which means according to the social status of what you can afford, is upon the father of the child. No soul shall have a burden laid on it that is greater than what it can bear. Neither shall a mother be made to suffer on account of her child, nor the father on account of his child, which means that on the father also mental, financial, emotional, physical burdens. And a similar duty on the father's heir. But if both desire weaning by mutual consent, after due consultation, there is no blame on them. If you decide on a foster mother for your children, there is no blame on you, as long as you pay what you have promised on equitable terms and remain conscious of Allah and know that Allah sees what you do. As for those of you who die leaving wives, they shall wait by themselves for 4 months and 10 days, and when they complete their term, there will be no sin upon you in respect of what they may do with themselves in accordance to the honorable terms, and Allah is aware of what you do. So this is about a widow. The iddat of a widow on death of her husband is 4 months and 10 days, and this is the longest iddat. Like for divorce, we saw it was for 3 courses, but for a death, it is 4 months and 10 days. Now, for if a woman is expecting, then the iddat is till the child is born. And there is no blame on you if you indicate discreetly in proposing marriage to women or keep concealed in yourself. Allah knows that you will soon mention it to them. But do not give them a secret promise unless you speak in equitable term, nor on the ties of marriage till the prescribed term is completed. And know that Allah knows what is in your hearts. Therefore, fear Him and know that Allah is forgiving and forbearing. So, this ayat is really teaching us plain common sense. So, here is a widow and someone wants to get married to him. Wait till the time the 4 month, 10 days are over. This is the time she's in mourning. So this is a matter of being civilized, in proposing to a widow. There is no blame on you if you divorce women when you have not touched them, nor fix for them their meher, and make provisions for them, the wealthy according to his means, the poor according to his means, a provision in an equitable manner. This is a duty on those who do good. Look at the moral character building that's taking place over here. That here a man is being instructed that if you divorce your wife even before you touch them, before you consummate the marriage, then even then, if the marriage is dissolved in an early stage, give them something out of your wealth. Firstly, obviously, meher is an essential part of an Islamic marriage, but here it is make provision for them, the wealthy according to his being and the poor according to his being, in an equitable manner. And if you divorce them before you have touched them, but have fixed their meher, then pay them half of what you have fixed, unless they relinquish, or he should relinquish in whose hand is the marriage ties. For and for you to forego is nearer to piety, and do not forget kindness amongst yourselves. Surely Allah sees what you do. So, this is the status. Man's status demands that he should be kindly disposed towards women. Muslim men are supposed to be magnanimous. Muslim men are supposed to be generous, particularly when they are dealing with wives whom they are divorcing. Even in that case, they are supposed to be generous. They need to look after them. They need to give to them more than what their due share is. The Quran says if you fix the mare, at least give them half the mare, but if you give them full, that's even better. This is how generous Muslim men are supposed to be. Be watchful of your prayer, especially the middle prayer, and stand in obedience to Allah. The rule of this deen of Islam is in namaz. Anyone who guards his namaz is protecting his deen. And anyone who wastes his salat has squandered his deen. Majority of scholars are of the opinion that this refers to Asr prayer. There's a hadith, which is a Sahih hadith from the book of Muslim, where our Prophet ﷺ said, someone who loses his Asr prayer is equivalent that his wealth, his family, and his children are destroyed. What a calamity. Can you imagine this calamity? This is the calamity we must feel if we lose the Asr prayer. But if you are in fear, then pray on a foot or on a horseback. And when you are again in safety, remember Allah as He has taught you what you did not know. So prayers are not even exempt when we are in a state of fear. Say your prayers walking, say your prayers riding a horse, meaning that you cannot stop because of some fear that may be there in the surrounding areas. Those of you who die leaving wives shall make a will for their wives, providing for a year without turning them out. But if they leave, there is no sin upon you in respect to what they may do with themselves, observing honorable norms. And Allah is Almighty and All Wise. And for the divorced women, provision according to what is equitable. This is a farz, this is a duty on those who fear. Again, instructing men to be magnanimous. This reduces the bitterness of talaq. Talaq is always a bitter. Divorce is always a bitter thing. Nobody, loves someone and then divorces. There is a bitterness that is there. To reduce that bitterness, you need to be generous and magnanimous. Our Prophet ﷺ at the time of death, he said 3 things. I enjoin you regarding salat. I enjoin you regarding namaz. Slaves, and women, which mean your wives. Thus does Allah clarify His signs to you so that you may understand or you may apply reason. So now turning our attention again to Bani Israel. Have you not regarded those who left their homes in thousands, apprehensive of death, whereupon Allah said to them, Die, and then He revived them? Indeed, Allah is gracious to mankind, but most people do not give thanks. So here is a reference to Bani Israel who, despite being in large number, left their homes due to fear. The moral is that if we are not prepared to fight for our faith with our resources and our lives, we will lose everything. Fight in the way of Allah, and know that Allah is all hearing and all knowing. Who is it who gives a loan to Allah, a beautiful loan which Allah will increase manifold for him, and Allah takes away and Allah gives abundantly, and to him you shall all return. Spending in the way of Allah, as being advised over here, is like giving a loan to Allah. He himself has taken responsibility of returning it from his treasures. Now, this spending in the way of Allah is giving a loan to Allah, is transferring your wealth from this world to the wealth in the hereafter. So it's like we are investing in Allah's bank, in the bank of Allah. When we spend in the way of Allah, for the sake of Allah, we have invested in the bank of Allah and not in the bankrupt company, which is this world. Have you reflected upon the leaders of Bani Israel after Moses? They said to their prophet, Appoint for us a king so that we may fight in Allah's way. And he said, Is it possible that if you were commanded to fight, you will not fight? They said, And why should we not fight in Allah's way when we have been driven out of our homes and our children? But when fighting was ordained for them, they turned back except a few. But Allah has knowledge of those who do wrong. So this is, being mentioned over here that a prophet was appointed. They said to their prophet, who was this prophet? The prophet has not been named in Quran, but if you were to look at Bible, you would see the name of this prophet coming as Samuel, and he was sent to Bani Israel after Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, and this time was around 1150 BC. And their prophet said to them, Surely Allah has chosen for you Talut as a king. They said, How can he be a king over us when we have greater right to kingship than he? And he is not even gifted with abundance in wealth. Their criteria was the king should be the richest man in the tribe. He said, which means the prophet said, Certainly Allah has chosen him in preference to you and gifted him abundantly in knowledge and physique. And Allah grants his knowledge to whom he pleases, and Allah is all embracing, all knowing. Talut was a very poor person in this tribe, but he had two strengths. One, he was very strong, physically he was strong, and number two, he was exceedingly knowledgeable as a person. Now, the real sickness of a nation, as you see in Bani Israel over here, is when position and posts are assigned to people only because of their wealth and because of their status. Right? Money is not the merit, what Quran is telling you. Money is not the merit. The criteria in appointing leaders should be knowledge and capability. And the prophet said to them, Surely the sign of his kingdom is that there shall come to you the chest in which there is peace from your Rabb, the remnants of what the followers of Moses and Harun left, carried by the angels, and surely there is a sign in this for those who believe. Now, Quran is referring to the Ark of Covenant, which had been lost by Bani Israel, and then it was returned back. It contained the engraved stone of the relics of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam and Hazrat Harun alayhi salam. And this ark had a very special significance in prayers in Judaism. This was like the Kaaba. Like the Kaaba is for Muslims, this Ark of Covenant is for Judaism. And taking away and the return of this ark was not just a casual incident, but it was a sign. So when Talut set out with his forces, he said, Allah will try you with the river. Whoever drinks from it, he is surely not with me. And whoever does not taste it, he is surely with me, except him who takes with his hand a sip is excused. But they all drank of it, except a few of them. So when they had crossed it, he said, and he and those who believed with him said, We have no power today against Jalut and his forces. Those who were convinced that they would meet Allah, said, often a small group overcame a mighty group by Allah's will, and Allah is with the steadfast. Now, Talut proved why he was selected to be a leader. His wisdom and his foresight. He tested his army before the battle to see how disciplined this army was. He recognized that it was not quantity, it was the quality of followers which would win the war. So he told them, do not drink from this river, except if you just take a small amount, just take a few sips from it, then you are excused. But majority of people drank, and then they crossed the other side. They said, today we have no power to fight against Jalut and his forces, except those few people. They said, we are a small group, but we have firm faith that we will win. فلما برزوا لجالوت وجنوده قالوا ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. And when they came face to face with Jalut and his forces, they prayed, O our Rabb, pour down on us patience and make our steps firm and assist us against the unbelieving people. So they defeated them by Allah's will, and Dawood slew Jalut, and Allah gave him kingdom and wisdom and taught him of that which he willed. And if Allah had not repelled some people by the other, disorder would surely overwhelm the earth. But Allah is bountiful to all of the worlds. So Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam used his skill with the string and a staff, and in shooting a pebble with such effectiveness that it knocked out Jalut in the battle, and Jalut's army, the Palestinians, their army broke away, and they fled. Moral over here is, numbers do not count. It is faith only, and determination in Allah's blessing that is vital. Thus, size and strength are of no avail against true courage and against good planning. A vital ingredient is for that is obedience and discipline. So the last ayah for this evening, tilka ayatullahi natluha alayka bil haqq wa innaka laminal mursaleen, and these are signs of Allah which we recite to you in truth, and you are indeed of the messenger. So our Prophet ﷺ had no way of knowing the truth from error unless Allah informed him. So barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim wa nafana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikr al-hakim.